We are very excited to be here at Avalon 2019 with our latest aeroplane, the Alto. It was a tight fit to get it here, as we only received it on Wednesday and assembled it and test flew it by Friday afternoon, and on Saturday, by Saturday midday, we already had just over 9 hours on it, so we flew it quite a bit. Very happy to present it here. It's been a long process to select the airplane that we would like to represent and to provide a safe, nice, nicely priced low-wing airplane. It took just over 2 years and 9 other airplanes that we compared it with, and eventually decided to come up with the Alto, which is made by a company in the Czech Republic called Direct Fly. It's a fairly small company. This airplane is serial number 88. They're sold all over the world, a little bit in the United States, mainly in Brazil, in Argentina, in Czech Republic. There's a few big flying schools that operate them regularly, and now they are available in Australia through AeroEdge. We had a fairly high standard of what we consider is a good flying airplane, and it wasn't necessarily the quickest flying airplane or the slowest one, but something that would represent a fairly wide range in the flight envelope and have very, very safe flight characteristics, because eventually that's what counts, and an airplane that is reliable, fairly easy to maintain, fairly cost effective in terms of parts, because eventually you need to live with it and customer needs to own them and operate and enjoy them for a while. So the Alto is equipped with a Rotex 912, which is fairly common for light sport aircraft, and we are equipping them with the Kiev prop, which we are well used to, and been flying behind the Kiev for quite a while with great performance. The airplane itself almost feels like a morph between an RV-7A for people who flew them, or 7 in general, and a Piper Warrior. So the controls force are fairly light but very harmonic and even, with a very light sort of kilogram per G pulled. However, a lot of stability, so the airplane is very positively stable, and if you displace it, it returns to center. But the roll rate is quite nimble. So it's quite a nice, friendly, and gentle flight experience in it. But you still have control authority. The airplane itself is, the POH quotes a stall speed at 35 knots, which is quite low for a low wing of this class. However, we found that it's a little bit less than that, which is always good to have higher numbers in cruise and lower number in stall when you come down to the POH. And I often come at 45 on base and final, and I still float a little bit on landing. The airplane itself have a very benign stall characteristics. There's a very noticeable buffet long time before the stall. The stick position, the stick gives a lot of feedback of when the stall going to happen, and it's a very gentle mush, and the airplane just wing walk from side to side. So again, very benign, and part of the contributor of the design. Ivo, the designer, spent a long time making sure the stall is very refined. The Alto is an all-metal airframe, as branded with a big decal on the fuselage. A combination of solid rivets and pop rivet. The airframe itself uses primed. It's primed from the inside, very thoroughly primed, I must say, which is very nice, with a high-quality paint on it. All the rivets, and especially the pop rivet, are filled with glue to make them look like they are solid, and it also makes the paint much nicer. So very nice, solid and rigid feel. The joints are glued as well before they're riveted, again to minimize vibration, noise, and to increase rigidity. There are 2 wing tanks. It's a wet wing with 46 usable liters in either side, with a lockable, refillable cap. Gives a really good range, good endurance. Again, you normally average between 17 to 19 liters an hour in cruise, which it's very nice. In climb a little bit more. Very easy to get to, very precise fuel senders and fuel gauges, which is very nice. LED lights on either side of the wings. They're very bright. if the airplane is registered under the CASA VH, it can be easily flown and legally flown under the night VFR rules. In Australia we can't fly them IFR, however in the United States they are. There's LED lights, strobes and navigation light all around, included obviously the landing light, and great visibility, very high quality lights. Part of the decision as well to represent an all-metal airplane is that it's fairly easy to work on. Engineers are normally well familiar with sheet work and metal work in case they do need to repair, to fix, to modify, to inspect. There's less engineers who are qualified in composite material. One of the fantastic features of this aircraft is our very, very large flaps. They're electrically controlled by a very nice control system in the cockpit, and at full deflection they will drop 35 degrees. That will contribute to the stall and very benign slow stall speed. And you can, as I said, a POH quotes 35, which is quite low. In reality it happens a bit less than that. Even when flap deflected, you can still side slip the aircraft. The control effectiveness is still really good, and obviously you get an increase in visibility when the deck angle reduces. The aircraft is equipped as an option with electric Aileron trim, which is quite unique in the fact that the trim motor system is in the Aileron with a very easy inspection hatch from underneath the Aileron. When the aircraft is not equipped with the Aileron electric trim, it's become a mechanical trim that you can easily adjust with a turnbuckle. So a very nice smart thinking from Direct Fly, and something that allows you, even if you're not equipped with the electric trim, to still trim the aircraft fairly easily and quickly if you have one passenger, two passengers, etc. It's a monocoque construction with a nice faired round top turtle deck. However, it got a flat bottom. Some people ask us, and I'm sure many will, what's the reason for having a flat bottom on the fuselage? And the reasons are aerodynamical and flight envelope related in terms of back in the design stages. Having a flat bottom on the airplane acts as another stable, another surface when the airplane is a high angle of attack, which increase and improve the rudder effectiveness and thus the stability at high angle of attack and in the stall. Another advantages of having the flat bottom on the airplane is the fact that we have an inspection hatch. So in regular service, engineers will be happy to find that there's a very easy inspection hatch that will get them into the flight controls, the airframe structure itself, and the electric wires. That's in addition to the inspection plates and hatches inside the cabin. Well, the elevator itself is attached by 4 bolts with a very, very beefy spar. The controls themselves are cables for the elevator and the rudder with very easy tension adjustment within the cabin. The manuals themselves and the old maintenance manual and instruction for assembly manual are very, very thorough and go through the whole system. Elevator itself, as you can see, have very short spacing or small spacing between the rivets, making it very strong and very rigid. The aircraft was tested for ultimate load of +6 positive Gs. The elevator trim is done by another electric servo, which is located within the elevator. It's easily accessed by the inspection plate, where only an electric cable runs to the fuselage. The reason to do so and to locate the trim servo within the elevator is to minimize the linkage length and thus the slope that might occur if there was different installation done. The trim itself is just sensitive enough. However, there's quite a large travel for it, so at any power settings and any flight speed, with flap or without, you can trim the airplane very nicely. The trim is, as I said, electric, and a button is located between the left and right seats. All right, well, all of the aircraft that we bring and all of the packs that you'll find on the website all come with dual steps, so in either side. It normally is an option, however, we included them as standard. The step itself is bolted with a very solid welded tube, and it's bolted directly to a rib which goes across the fuselage. So very, very robust and strong. and can handle the weight coming into the airplane. Another great features, and one of the big factors that helped us make a decision about what airplane to represent, was the forward sliding canopy. So it's not that common for airplane to have sliding canopies to begin with, low wings airplanes, and definitely not forward. It's more common with the aerobatic aircraft like the Zlin or the Robin. It's very nice because it makes it even easier to get to the airplane. With low wing airplane, you really need to sit yourself down, and having a very wide opening is very easy. The canopy itself slides on two very heavy duty railing system, which comes straight from the heaviest of tool boxes, which is again another nice feature, which is a fairly common part. Another thing that I like about it is the fact that the canopy is very easily removed. With two latches on either side, two people can slide the canopy forward and up, which means that during maintenance, even regular maintenance, you don't need to open the canopy, you don't need to worry about it, and you can access the whole cockpit very easily. Another nice feature is that on top of the instrument panel there's a large inspection plate, which it's in black, and it will remove and give you access to the instruments, the wiring. Again, avionics work is very easily done because of it. Another great advantage of having a forward sliding canopy is the fact that you can open the canopy in any wind direction. Often with tilting canopy, you'll have to be mindful of where the wind is blowing, especially if it's really strong, as it will make strain the hinges. However, with a sliding canopy, none of those problems exist. A second advantage that is really nice, the canopy can be left open by mistake in flight, and it will remain closed. So in case you need to, you can open the hatch, the canopy will remain closed in flight. And we have tested. So another great feature of the canopy is the fact that the locking system is pass center, and it's very nice, simple and reliable, which means that in a flying school environment where this canopy normally going to be operated maybe 20 times a day, maybe more, you can reliably do so and know that it will serve you for a long time without any maintenance in between the normal regular maintenance. The luggage compartment on the Alto is quite large and deep, and it's a 15 kilo load limit. The cockpit of the Alto is very wide. It's extremely spacious, and I'm probably on the tallest range of pilot, and I got plenty of knee room. Very comfortable sitting position where my feet are on the pedal. Another thing that I really like is the fact that the seat is very supportive. You sit very comfortably in the airplane, sit nice and high and tall, with great visibility over the nose, so even when you flare and the nose of the airplane comes up, you can still see quite a lot. In terms of the ergonomics, the airplane was designed very much for the flying school environment, which means that they thought about how to keep both occupants happy with plenty of room. The stick position is really nice at about sort of the knee height, and the stick itself feels very rigid with absolutely no slop in it in the controls, which really translate to a very nice feeling when you're flying. In the center console you can find the electric trim as well as the brakes. Often people ask us why we do not have the toe brakes, and similar to other airplanes that we import, we wanted to keep everything simple, so it cost effective to operate, it's very easy to maintain, and it's very reliable. Single lever will act as the brake, and when you put it on the detent to the right, the park brake is activated. So again, very simple, very easy. Above it, a fuel selector, either to the left tank or to the right tank, and in the center top of it, the starter button for the engine. Going up, we got the electric trim settings. So this is a very nice Lambert electric flap indicator, and you have 3 positions, and each position with lights, LED lights, it tells you that the flap are either in transit or are locked into position, so you can be assured that the flaps are doing correctly what they're supposed to do. Above it, we got the choke lever, so you can lock it on with half a turn, and disengage it. Again, very nice ergonomic. Carburetor heat, cabin heat, and a throttle, which is either a vernier or a push. So if you press and you can push it through quickly, or if you want to adjust a little bit, you can turn it left or right to increase or lower RPM, which again, very easy. You do one click to increase to about 2000 RPM. The airplane starts to roll slowly, and you can use the brake lever to control while taxiing. The steerable nose wheel is directly connected to the rudder, so you got a very, very good turn radius, which is quite important when you taxi in a crowded environment. There is vents as standard in all of our airplanes. There will be vents on either side of the panel as well as the canopy. So the vents can be either open by sliding backward, or if it's a bit cool, by opening a small flap. So on either side to get really good cooling. And I flew it last week on a fairly hot day. It was 36 degrees, and immediately after takeoff, as soon as there's airflow, it's very nice and comfortable in the cabin. On the left side, a master key for the electrical system, ignition for both ignition A and ignition B, standard airspeed indicator, a video RPM with the tacho and engine time, vertical speed, altimeter. This aircraft, being the first demonstrator, was important for us to receive extra information like the G limits we're pulling, as well as the true airspeed and the outside temperature, so I can really get an idea of the performance of the aircraft. So it's equipped with a D10A by Dynon, which is a nice EFIS option. On the right for navigation, a lot of people like to use the iPad, and we have a nice Air Gizmo mount equipped with Airplane EFP, which is really nice. Above it, you'll find an annunciator panel, which is again another nice touch. So there's an annunciator light for the fuel pump. Being a low wing, the fuel pump is turned on for takeoff and on before landing, and it gives you an indication that the fuel pump is working correctly. On either side of the minimum fuel test button, you'll find two red LED. When the fuel gets to 12 liters, you'll find them turning on. Again, another indication, another safety feature in addition to the fuel gauges and a low volt light. So the fuel gauges, we said, fuel pressure indicator, oil temperature, oil pressure, and CHT, coolant temperature, on the right hand side. Then we have the Trig Scottish company. Those are certified radios, very, very nice quality radio, and the transponder, the T191. Now, we got often asked about those switches, if they're circuit breakers or switches. The answer is that they actually act as both. By pressing them, they are a switch, and in case there is any problem with the electrical system, they will pop out. So again, a nice touch to minimize the complexity of the airplane and thus minimize the weight of it. And then coming down, we got the GRS, it's the ballistic parachute system with a quick release, and as shown before, it's a very nice installation. This airplane, equipped as it is, included the ballistic chute, weighs 332 kilos at empty, allowing you full fuel, 2 people, plenty of luggage, and also makes for a great performance. So when I flew it last week, I exceeded on every takeoff over 1,000 feet per minute every time, and with a very benign stall, and plane feels really good. Canopy itself got a handle here, so you can push it forward. As discussed, you can open it, you can unlatch it in flight. It will remain closed, which is nice, and you can easily open it while you're taxiing to get fresh air. Front of the cowl, there's also an oil inspection hatch, and the canopy would not touch it even if it's remained open, which is again very nice. So overall, very nice cabin with a lot of storage on either side of the pilot, and again accessible from the back. One last thing is that on Saturday we flew this airplane to Mount Beauty. It's about 3.6 hours total flight time, and I went up to clear the terrain and have a nice smooth flight. I went to 8.5 and 7.5 accordingly, and airplane itself streams very nicely in cruise. The stick position in cruise is about here, and I found that even without the autopilot, once the airplane is streamed, just touching it, the stick with your knee, either left and right, from time to time, will keep the airplane nice and straight. So the ergonomics, or your sitting position, is very comfortable. which is always a good feature. Daily inspection of the oil is very easily done by this inspection hatch. Simply by lifting the flap, you can access the oil and check it. To check the coolant levels and the engines, it is recommended to remove the car, which is all pretty easy done by Zeus cam locks on either side.
This only came in a week ago. It arrived a week ago, so as a school, I mean, I think Australia, the main market's high wing aircraft. We do get requests for low wing, and that's right.
The engine bay installation is quite neat, with great attention to details. The hose clamps are lock wired, and it's very nicely done with a nice carburetor heat box. Cabin heat works a treat, and it's a very nicely sealed cowling, which means that you don't have any noise in the cabin. It's very quiet, and there's no vibration as well. So the engine is mounted on obviously rubbers, but it's very nicely done. It makes for a very quiet environment in the cockpit. Surprisingly so, surprisingly quiet for a Rotex powered airplane. All the hoses are very nicely done, as you can see, and just great attention to details is made throughout the installation. To conclude, this is not an installation or an afterthought. This engine installation was done as part of the aircraft design. It's clearly seen through the layout of the hoses, the cables, and we are very excited and feel very confident flying behind it.